The restaurant's golden lights shimmered softly against the tall glass windows, reflecting the faint drizzle outside. It was one of those evenings where the city seemed to move slower, the air filled with quiet anticipation and loneliness. At a corner table near the window, a man in a crisp black suit sat alone, his wristwatch gleaming under the dim chandelier. Ethan Gray, the cold and unshakably stoic CEO of Gray Enterprises, checked the time again, 7:05 p.m. His blind date was already 10 minutes late. Not that he cared. He didn't believe in love. He didn't believe in people. He just agreed to this setup because his mother insisted he should learn to feel again. But as the minutes stretched, Ethan's patience thinned. He had no interest in another woman who wanted him for his name, his company, or his money. To him, people were predictable. Smiles that hid greed, promises that disguised motives. He was about to get up and leave when a young woman, drenched from the rain, stumbled through the door. Her clothes were simple, a faded blue dress, scuffed shoes, and a second-hand purse clutched tightly against her. She looked around nervously, eyes scanning the crowd. Without realizing it, she walked straight toward Ethan's table and sat down. "I'm so sorry I'm late," she said breathlessly, brushing water from her hair. "The bus broke down and oh, you already ordered?" Ethan blinked, momentarily speechless. The confusion in her innocent brown eyes, the honesty in her tone, it threw him off. "I think you're mistaken," he said flatly. "I'm waiting for someone." Her face flushed red. Oh no. I thought this was table 9, right?" She glanced around frantically, realizing her mistake. "I'm so sorry. I must have... Oh gosh, this is so embarrassing." She started to rise, but Ethan's voice, low and unreadable, stopped her. "Sit down." Something in his tone, not anger but curiosity, made her pause. She slowly sat back down, uncertain. "You're already wet. You might as well stay until you dry off." He didn't understand why he said that. He didn't do kindness, especially not to strangers. But there was something about her, a fragility mixed with courage, that felt different. "Thank you," she murmured, folding her hands nervously. "I didn't mean to intrude. I was supposed to meet someone for a job interview, but I guess I read the message wrong." Ethan studied her face, tired, yet bright with sincerity. "A job interview here?" "Yes," she said softly, embarrassed. "It's for a cafe nearby, but the owner wanted to meet somewhere." "Fancy, I guess." Ethan couldn't help a faint smirk. "And you thought this was fancy enough?" She looked around, eyes wide. "I've never been anywhere like this before. It's beautiful." For a moment, silence sat between them, awkward yet oddly comforting. The waiter came over, assuming she was Ethan's companion, and poured her a glass of water. She thanked him with genuine warmth that made the waiter smile, something Ethan rarely saw. Her name, he soon learned, was Lila Bennett. She lived in a small apartment, worked 2 part-time jobs, and supported her little brother since their parents passed away. She spoke with the kind of hope that felt foreign to Ethan, the kind of hope that came from someone who had nothing, yet still believed in everything. The minutes turned into hours, and before either realized it, the restaurant had emptied. Ethan found himself listening, truly listening, for the first time in years. Her laughter was soft but real, her stories filled with struggle but never bitterness. When she finally realized how late it was, she gasped. "Oh no, I missed my bus." Ethan offered to drive her home, though he wasn't sure why. On the way, she pointed out little things. The old bookstore she loved, the park where she used to play with her brother, the bakery that sometimes gave her free bread. She found beauty in places Ethan never even noticed. When they reached her small, dimly lit building, she turned to him and said, "Thank you for tonight. I know you didn't have to let me stay. You probably think I'm ridiculous." He shook his head slightly. "You're different," she smiled, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Different can be good." That night, for the first time in years, Ethan didn't feel empty. Days passed. His blind date, the one who was supposed to come, eventually called and apologized, but Ethan didn't care. He found himself thinking about the girl who sat at his table by mistake, about her laughter, Her honesty, the way she saw the world not as cruel but hopeful. When he couldn't shake the thought, he found himself driving past that same bakery, hoping to, coincidentally, see her again. He did. She was standing behind the counter, wearing an apron, smiling as she handed bread to an old man who clearly couldn't afford it. When she saw Ethan, her eyes widened in surprise. "You again?" "I was in the neighborhood," he lied, his usual composure faltering. She laughed. "You don't seem like the kind of man who just happens to wander near this part of town." He didn't deny it. He didn't have to. Over the next few weeks, their paths crossed more. Coffee breaks, quick dinners, unexpected walks. Slowly, the ice around Ethan's heart began to melt, but life wasn't kind for long. Lila's brother fell sick, a heart condition that required expensive surgery. She hid it at first, working extra shifts, pretending she was fine. But one night, Ethan found her sitting outside the hospital crying quietly. He approached her, his chest tight. "Why didn't you tell me?" She wiped her tears. "Because people like you don't help people like me. You have your world and I have mine." Something broke inside him then, the walls he'd built to keep feelings out, to protect himself from pain. "People like me," he said softly, "would give up everything just to make you smile again." She looked up at him, stunned. And that night, Ethan made a decision, one that changed everything. He paid for the surgery anonymously, refusing to let her know. But when she found out, she came to his office, the towering gray Enterprises building, and walked past the marble floors straight into his world. "You think I needed saving?" she said, her voice trembling. "You think I wanted your pity?" "It wasn't pity," he replied, stepping closer. "It was love, the kind I didn't know I could feel until you sat at my table that night." She stared at him, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You're impossible." "Maybe," he said, smiling faintly. "But you're the only one who ever made me want to be human again." She broke into a soft laugh through her tears, shaking her head. "You really are terrible at blind dates," he chuckled, the first genuine laugh in years. "Then it's a good thing you came by mistake." Years later, at that same restaurant where it all began, Ethan sat again by the window. But this time he wasn't alone. Lila sat beside him, her hand resting on his, a small gold ring glinting on her finger. Across from them, her little brother, healthy and smiling, played with a napkin like a child, free of worry. Ethan looked at her and whispered, "You really did change everything?" She smiled, eyes glistening. "No, Ethan. You just needed someone to remind you what it feels like to see the world, not through wealth or pain, but through love." And for the first time, the cold CEO felt truly alive. Because sometimes, the people who come into our lives by accident are the ones who were meant to find us all along.